Well, good morning and welcome to another Wine Steward video, this time coming from my messy office. This office would actually hold all the people who are signed up so far for next week's Wine 101 event or class or whatever you want to call it. In other words, we don't have that many sign-ups yet. I know a lot of you have been out of town, others of you have been consumed with getting your kids restarted in school and getting your fall routine started, even though it's still summer. Yes, school is starting earlier and earlier these days, isn't it? Well, we do in fact want to, in the spirit of school starting up, put on a little class of our own called Wine 101. We just can't think of a better name because this is meant to basically address the whole subject of wine in as much as we can in 2 hours. We're going to be tasting probably 11 or 12 different very delicious things. And each one of these wines is going to provoke a conversation, a discussion per a certain topic or two. Perhaps one of the main themes of the evening will be to put aside your prejudices. Maybe I'll learn how to say the plural of prejudice in the meantime. But we are going to almost certainly talk about like getting over your shit about some of your thoughts about wines that you don't like and maybe get you to like them, Example, we taste with our eyes, I often say. In other words, we've noticed that a person admires a darker colored red wine over that which looks a little light. And I wanted to show you this, and maybe I'll be using this at the event. Yes, this is the return of one of our favorite Pinot Noir producers, Rath. Hello, Rusty. And Rath Pinot Noir is beautiful once again. And perhaps the color is slightly dilute, we often say, when we see a wine looking like, a little darker than a dark rosé is all we're getting in this Rath. But when I tasted 5 different Rath Pinot Noir offerings in a row, I chose this, not for lack of color or for how much color it has. I chose it for that. In other words, I beg all of you to smell your wine. So many of us often forget to do that, I think. Now, you get home from work, you want a good glass of wine. You're not going to go home and analyze it, right? You're going to, I need a couch and a glass of wine now. And so it's not the time to perform an inquiry on a wine. And you don't have to think about the color and smell it incessantly before finally having your long-awaited sip. But when we sit down, sometimes to really good wine deserves that treatment, and you deserve to do it. That's the beautiful thing about wine, and unlike any other alcoholic beverage out there, it compels in more ways. And sometimes we see a light-colored wine, we expect wimpiness, and there's the surprise. My gosh, what a nose. This is Rath's bottling, represented as the title of 2 different clones of Pinot Noir. 115 and 667 are the 2 clones they're growing down there in Monterey, right across the street, ironically, from St. Lucia Highlands. So they have to just call it Monterey. But they are essentially a St. Lucia Highlands producer of beautiful Pinot Noirs. This is our favorite of the 5 that we tasted a couple of weeks ago. And I invite you to get in on it big time because we had to buy a lot to get you a decent price. We were selling it for well less than the winery and able to do so because we committed to 5 cases. That's an inventory load. So let's start ripping through those. I'm going to put this on the wine bar next week, but in the meantime, I'm going to have my own bottle, starting with this beautiful glass. I haven't even talked about the flavor yet, have I? But in the nose, beautiful fruit and cola, a beautiful smokiness, not smoke from fires, but the smoke you might smell in smoked meat, perhaps. Soft, supple, generous. Yes, this wimpy-looking wine has generosity, beautiful Pinot Noir. And maybe we'll show it at that Wine 101. So sign up today. We will have fun. I promise this will be a hang-loose, fun style of class, if we want to call it a class or a tasting event, whatever. All right, so we got that out of the way. Let's tell you that we have just prepared 80 of these. Yes, we buy in large amounts raw almonds, Marcona almonds from Spain, and we roast them ourselves. And then we apply olive oil, salt. I hear you, Rusty. Olive oil, salt, herbs de Provence to some, and smoked paprika, or pimenton, more correctly identified, because it's actually paprika from Spain, where they call it pimenton. Beautiful stuff. Now, I want to just say that we work hard on these and we do run out. We had run out and I hadn't gotten around to roasting some more in about a month and a half, so I'm sorry for being out, but they are back. And now I'd like to tell you about another wine that we might show at this Wine on One, a very, very pleasant surprise. Yes, wine can still surprise. Rusty, shh. This is by the famous producer of Sancerre in Puy-Fumé, Pascal Jolivet. Jolivet, like I said, makes beautiful Sauvignon Blancs from those two regions. And in fact, maybe we'll talk about that fact that in France, they often name their wines on the label, not by the grape variety, but by the location. Well, the location of Sancerre has gotten so well known that that wine has gotten very expensive. And Sancerre is running out of that stuff all the time because it's become very popular. My theory is it sells better than Puy-Fumé because when people see Puy-Fumé on a label, they're afraid to ask for it. They're afraid to say, what is this? Because they're afraid to try to pronounce that word. But everybody knows how to say Sancerre, right? Well, here is another wine by that grape maker of Sancerre that does in fact say Sauvignon Blanc, the name of the grape, on the front label. Why? Because it comes from an alternative region that is northeast of Sancerre called Coteaux du Ginois. Coteaux du Ginois is not well known. There's only about 500 acres planted to vine there, most of which are Sauvignon Blanc vines. Whereas in Sancerre, and I had to look this up, there are nearly 7,000 acres planted to mostly Sauvignon Blanc and some Pinot Noir, as you know. Well, this place called Coteaux du Ginois is, it was unknown to me until I tasted this gorgeous wine, and I had to go look this place up, and I learned. And you think I know a lot about wine? I still don't. And that is why wine compels. And why I will probably be compelling your palate with this wine at the Wine 101 next week. So, a maker of Sauvignon Blanc, as identified as Sancerre, goes north to the Coteaux du Ginois to excite us. Now, does this taste like Sancerre? No. The cool thing is, when I smelled it and started writing my notes, I jotted down the fact that this is kind of a hybrid wine, at least per my nose and palate, between a Sancerre or Sauvignon Blanc from the Loire Valley and something from a little farther east that would be Chablis. And Chablis is a wine region in Burgundy where all of the wines identified as Chablis are made entirely of what grape? Class, let's learn something here. Chardonnay, cool weather Chardonnay. So this is no oak Sauvignon Blanc that behaves like a hybrid of Chablis and Sancerre, perhaps. It's gorgeous wine. It is so good, I had to take it to a little tasting the other night where a bride-to-be and her husband-to-be were choosing their wedding wines, and this, in fact, will be featured at that wedding. It was that good. It passed muster with them, and it's going to be at that class, I have a feeling, if I don't gobble it all up ahead of time. This is a little reminder to you that we are indeed in the spirits business, and we're glad that you're supporting it, coming in for your favorite bourbons and whiskeys and tequilas and gins and so on. So here's one of the first things we brought aboard about a year ago when we first got our license, enabling the sales of spirits downstairs. This is one of the first to arrive, and I just checked in on it again the other day just to remind myself of how good this wine called Starward is. Starward is not made in America or Ireland or Scotland. It is in fact made in Australia, and it is finished in wine barrels from the Australian wine trade. They're often acquiring just emptied barrels from the likes of Penfolds and finishing their whiskeys in those barrels. And this is so mellow. What I really admire about this particular entry-level bourbon from Starward, and we have other levels from them as well, is its mellowness. It's so easy, it's delicate, and it's not in your face. I admire this. It's sippable, and I just like its suaveness. It's very nice Australian whiskey. You ought to give it a try. You can do it neat, just maybe one drop of water in there just to let it bloom, and that's all you need to enjoy Starward twofold whiskey from Australia. Where should we take you now? Let's tell you just about a few things that we're doing on our wine bar menu this week. So the new wine bar menu was published a few days ago, but we only get around to doing the video to announce that on Thursday. So let's catch up. Let's tell you about our red wine that's in our all red flight. The red flight this week is entirely from Europe, and we're visiting Spain, Italy, and France all in one flight. And this is our Italian submission from the island of Sicily. And the best known and the most planted grape there is a red grape called Nero di Avola, which is a grape, frankly, that I'm not always a huge fan of, or the wine thereof. It is often a little too stewy for me, and I don't really want to finish my glass of it. Well, I chose this for the wine club and for the wine bar because I feel like this is exceptional in that it's not over the top and not stewy. It's certainly full of beautiful flavor and character, but there's a briskness to it that keeps you thirsty, that keeps you wanting more. And this is a Nero di Avola called Chiaramonte, and in fact, it went to our Wine Adventure Wine Club a couple of weeks ago, and what happened? Lex emailed and said, Jim, I'd like a whole case of it. So good on you, Lex. And that is kind of like validating, really validating. It seems like we don't always get to hear back from you what you think of the wines that you're carrying out of here. Well, that was validating right there, that somebody wants a whole box of it, and more of you have been buying it too. So I'm glad you're identifying what we've identified. Very, very delicious and useful Nero di Avola. Useful meaning you want to keep drinking it. That's useful to me. What are we doing as a sparkling wine? Another wine that's going to that wedding. This will be offered for the toast. And in the meantime, before that, we're going to be enjoying Raventos de Nit. This is not Cava. It is from Cava country, but these folks decided to leave behind the name Cava and rebrand themselves because they felt like the Cava genre was like bringing them down. They make something that's better than Cava, and they want to say so by saying we are different. So the name for this regionally is Conca de Rio Anoia, and that's really annoying for me because I think marketing department could have chosen a better name. But in the meantime, this is delicious blend of Parellada and Macabeo and Xarel·lo and Monastrell. And no, I'm not speaking Greek. Those are in fact three very well-known Cava or sparkling wine for the Penedès grapes, as well as the coloring edition of the red grape Monastrell, otherwise known as what class? Maybe we'll have this in the class next week. The red grape Monastrell is slightly better known as Mourvedre, or Mourvedre if you want. All right. How about two wines that are in the white flight? Then we'll let you go. This could in fact be in the class next week because it's one of those examples of like putting aside your prejudices or whatever those are. Because here you see the name of the region, and you might think that's the name of the grape and run away. Do you see that? Muscadet. Sounds kind of like Muscat, doesn't it? Ain't Muscat. This is bone dry wine that's beautiful with oysters. It's going to start off our white flight this week. So come enjoy a beautiful Muscadet, which is a white wine. Actually, it's made of the grape Melon, like melon de Bourgogne, like the melon from Burgundy, but we're not in Burgundy here. We're Western Loire Valley, very near the Atlantic Ocean, where the weather's cool, and this is the specialty grape of the area, Melon de Bourgogne, from a place called Muscadet. All right? Finally, because the dog's not going to let me talk much longer, this is a beautiful brand new Verdejo for us, brand new, in that we carried it a long time ago, but it has re-emerged. It's kind of funny how what goes around sometimes comes back around in this wine business of ours if you hang around in it long enough. 25 years, we're turning 25 years of age this year. Can you believe that? Some of you have been with us all that time. Jose Pariente Verdejo from Spain's best known region for the Verdejo grape. Verdejo is a white grape has grown north of Madrid in a very warm place. So it's remarkable in that a white grape actually retains its acidity in such a hot place. I think we ought to be growing Verdejo here in Livermore because it gets pretty warm here, and we could use a white grape that keeps its acidity, don't you think? It is actually starting to show up in Yellow County and in the Lodi area. I just saw a bottle of it. Actually, they had sold out of it, but really cool place to visit right now, or these days, is a place called the Old Sugar Mill, which is up in Clarksburg, and I finally made my visit there. And anyway, digressing, but warm weather grape, white grape that maintains its acidity. It's got beautiful grapefruit qualities. It's bone dry. It's nervy. It's fantastic with fish tacos, perhaps, and salads with grilled shrimp on top and so on. So try a beautiful new Verdejo that has come back around. Jose Pariente, and thank you for watching. Don't forget to sign up for that Wine 101 class. It does not matter how evolved you are or how much you think you know about wine. There's always more to learn. The same way I just learned about a Sauvignon Blanc region I'd never heard of near Sancerre. What is it called, class? Or have you been taking notes? Coteaux du Génois. Coteau de Ginois, and we are almost certainly going to pour that beautiful wine next Wednesday night. So come back to school. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.